What's up?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rocky Swamp Podcast.
Rocky Swamp Podcast. We came up with a name.
Finally.
Yes.
Took a while. We did it.
And if you don't understand what that means, or it's kind of confusing, I'm a Tennessee fan.
I'm a Gator fan.
Kevin's Florida fan. So obviously the fight song for Tennessee's Rocky Top, and the Gators play at the Swamp. So we just kind of combined them. Kind of describes both of us, I guess, in one. So thought it was pretty neat, pretty cool.
Better than any other option that we thought.
Yeah, we were thinking of some K&K Sports Radio.
So generic. But, welcome to podcast number 2. Today we're going to, the main topic of the subjects today will be the Mount Rushmore of College football that I brought up last week. And
for those of you that don't know what Mount Rushmore is, it's
four. We got to explain this.
Yeah, exactly. But 4 of the greatest presidents of all time. So we figured we'll do 4 of the greatest college football coaches of all time.
Quick test. Can you name all 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore?
Maybe not all 4. You got George Washington, and then you got Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt.
All right.
But I don't remember the 4th one.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I didn't pay attention to that part. But, we'll be talking about that. But you and I had a conversation about last week, just a brief conversation about rookie holdouts. Not necessarily rookie holdouts, but players in their rookie contracts holding out. For example, the big one being Zeke Elliott. What's your take on that, just real quick? I never really got your input.
Well, when it comes to holding out, and I've kind of changed my tone on this over the past few years, and even still, I kind of flip-flop when it comes to talking about rookies and when it comes to talking about veteran players that have been in the league for a while. But in the grand scheme of rookies that are still in their rookie contract, I don't have a problem with them holding out. Because they're still early in their career, and they need to make their money because they're the ones taking all the risk to get hurt, injured, and they should be compensated for that. But I'm not against rookie contracts because I don't think an organization should have to tie up, like say when Sam Bradford came out or Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford more fits the bill, but they spent $100 million on his contract, and he had never taken a snap in the NFL. So you're putting a lot of faith in this guy that just graduated college to be able to, you're giving him $100 million. He's the savior of the franchise. And a lot of times those people kind of flake out, and now you're on the hook for all that money. So I agree with rookie contracts, but I also agree with the players being able to hold out for more money if they've proven themselves to be a big asset to the team. Zeke Elliott is that offense. And so I think he should be paid accordingly. He's making peanuts compared to some of the other running backs in the league, and he's proved that he's one of the best running backs in the league, and he should be paid for that. But, when you look at the organization, they don't want to pay it because, hey, you signed a contract with us, so you're gonna work that contract out before we restructure it. But the player's the one that's taking all the risks. They're the ones putting their body on the line. If he gets hurt, the organization's just going to go, hey, here's another running back. We're going to sign him, and it'll be all good. But, somebody had actually, as a guy that I work with, said, it's similar to, say, I mow grass for a living.
Right.
And I come to your house, and I say, hey, sir, I'm going to mow your grass for $20 for this, for the next 5 years. Okay? So you mow the grass, and then come to find out, you're doing $50 worth of work, but you're in this contract for $20. And you go, hey, I feel like I'm doing $50 worth of work. And everybody else around here that's mowing yards in this neighborhood, they're making $75 a yard. So why can't I get paid what I'm due? And I do a better job than they do.
I understand that, but you approached me. You're the one that told me the price that you were willing to take. So that's your fault.
Well, okay. in a sense, okay,
I know what you're saying.
we won't
but
say
still.
that I'm the one that did it. We mutually agreed
Okay.
$20.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So we should renegotiate something.
We should at least be able to sit down and talk and say, hey, I'm doing $50 worth of work.
I'll pay you 40.
Yeah, something like that.
I
You
got
know
you.
that we're, you know, if you because he's doing more work than what he's being paid.
I
Right
agree.
now.
And if for his position as running back, obviously, you know, not saying quarterbacks and other players don't get hurt.
They don't
Their
take as many hits.
True, their careers are shorter.
Mhm.
So the time frame to make money. Now we're talking about a lot of money. I understand that, but the time frame to make money is different than say a quarterback like Tom Brady who can play 100 years. And then, you know, with Zeke, if you're Jerry Jones and you're the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott is your franchise quarterback that you believe him to be, I mean, you can look at the numbers. His numbers aren't anywhere near as good when Zeke's not on the field as they are when he is because of the play action. Now, I understand they got Alfred Morris, and nothing take it away from Alfred Morris, but
He's not Zeke.
no, they're not gonna load the box to stop him the way they would Zeke and open up the play action for Amari Cooper, who you're paying big money for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that, but I can also see where people think, you know, you honor the contract that you're given. You know, you agreed to this, you gave your word. The old saying, "A man's only as good as his word." So you play for what you said you would play for. However, like you said with the mowing thing, that example, you know, it's like a trade clause. You know, governments, companies, you know, they trade every day. Things go up, things go down. Had Zeke not performed the way he has, no, he wouldn't be worth renegotiating his contract.
And
like
he
you
wouldn't be
said.
holding out either.
Right. So, yeah, I can see your point there.
But also, you know, over the years, I've always been like anybody that holds out, it's based on ego. You know, I feel like I'm the best running back in the league. This guy's making this much, and I need to be paid more than this guy. And I don't necessarily agree with that because we're talking about millions of dollars. You're making more money than you should be able to spend in a lifetime. And so that makes it seem like they're big, overpaid babies. Which,
Bryce Harper,
most
from
of them
baseball,
are.
to me, is a prime example of that.
yeah.
I don't
Ego-driven.
Yeah, I don't think he warrants the money that he was given because he is not the best player in baseball right now. Obviously, it's Mike Trout, but yeah, I can see what you're saying.
And that's the thing where it differs for me with rookies and veterans. Rookies, I'm okay with them holding out because they need to make their money.
Yeah.
They come out of college, they don't get paid to be a college athlete. They're trying to put food on the table, so they need to get paid those first few years to make sure that they're set for the rest of their life, what have you. But as a veteran, you should already made your money, and anytime you're holding out for that, it's ego-driven because, like Julio Jones, he's going to probably be the next one possibly because
Maybe
who's
Lamar
the guy
Jackson
from-
after this year?
Yeah,
if
I
he
mean-
performs.
yeah, but I mean, you've already made your money. At this point, you shouldn't be holding out based on ego because the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to end up signing with a team that's not very good because they're the only ones that have the salary cap to be able to sign you. And then you're going to whine that you're not winning football games. So at some point, if you love the sport, then, I mean, you see people do it all the time, like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. They've restructured their contract to actually take less money because they actually want to win the Super Bowl. It's not necessarily ego-driven for them.
Right.
They want good players around them because they want to win.
But they've made a lot of money.
And they have made a lot
And they
of
can
money.
afford that. And again, you know, it is that. So another question I was going to ask you, and we didn't even talk about this. I'm just going to spring this one on you. So Khalil comes out of retirement, signs with the Jets.
Yeah.
Did that hurt your heart, or how do you feel? Did he try to go back to Carolina? I don't know. We've not heard. But
Yeah.
How you feel?
Well, I mean, he spent his whole career as a Carolina Panther.
Right.
And, I mean, people look at him, some people love him, some people didn't like him, some people were just kind of lukewarm on him. I thought he was always an integral part of our offensive line. And it sucks to see him go, but he kind of pulled the Brett Favre, I'm ready to retire. So then that forces us to have to, go out and get somebody,
Right.
shore up the offensive line. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl center, so it's hard to replace him. So we went out, spent some money, tried to shore up the offensive line, and then he comes out of retirement. And like you said, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he actually called Carolina and was like, hey, I'm not ready to retire yet. And we just told him, look, we've done spent all this money trying to replace you. There's no room for you. But I did see an article that said that the Jets had been trying to, coax him out of retirement for a couple of months. So I don't know if he actually talked to Carolina or if it was just like, you know what, I want to go play somewhere else, because he did say that he's intrigued to play with Sam Darnold, who played at USC, which is where Ryan Khalil went. So,
and it's going to be beneficial to Sam Darnold, I think, the experience. That's going to help him with Le'Veon Bell in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Jets think he's their franchise quarterback. And, it's a good move by the Jets, I think.
Speaking of the holdouts and stuff, Le'Veon Bell going to the Jets because he held out. But that's a special case scenario because Le'Veon Bell hasn't played a full season in a couple of years because he can't pass drug tests, and he ends up being suspended for the first 4 to 6 games every year. So you're not going to pay top dollar for somebody that's not even going to play in every game.
It intrigues me to see if he can stay healthy through the whole year, not taking a year off like that. It seems like the more time they take off when they do come back, their bodies aren't, I guess, acclimated to the pressures and the struggles and the schedules. But it'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah,
the Jets are going to be good, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe
are they better than the Browns? Who knows? It's yet to be seen.
I think the Browns are they're not necessarily a sleeper team because they're getting a lot of hype right now just because of the way they ended. And, you get Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield. Did you see the video of him chugging the beer?
Yes.
The dude.
The mustache.
The mustache is terrible. But how can you not like that guy? And this is coming from somebody that didn't like him in college.
I don't know.
He's growing on me for some reason.
Yeah. He did beat y'all in overtime.
He did.
We were
there for that. It was terrible. But,
I know everybody talks about how he's one of the ones, obviously Drew Brees too, broke the mold in him and Kyler Murray, about him being, not having the stature. But honestly, if you've never seen that guy live, his legs are huge. That is a big man.
Yep.
I don't care if he's not 6'5". That's a big man.
Yeah.
That's a big man. So,
and we proved he was hard to tackle.
Yeah, arm tackles he was breaking in college. Maybe not so in the NFL, but in college he was doing.
But he hasn't really had to run that much in the NFL.
He hasn't.
He's been really good at passing,
Yeah.
And we'll see. I saw an article where the Browns' old offensive line coach said that Freddie Kitchens, who is now the head coach, wasn't that big of a reason why Baker Mayfield took that step after they fired Hugh Jackson. And now Freddie Kitchens is the head coach. So we'll see if it was Freddie Kitchens or if the old offensive line coach was right, that it was other people that had the influence on Baker Mayfield that made him start playing better. I know I've seen some clips of them in training camp, and he's throwing some dimes to OBJ. Some pretty balls. And then you still got Jarvis Landry.
Right.
You got Nick Chubb, who came on towards the end of the year. And don't forget, they picked up Kareem Hunt.
That's true.
If he gets to where he can play again, that offense is going to be scary.
That's a whole nother conversation.
And then they got one of the best tight ends in the league right now, David Njoku, or however you say his last name.
Him.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what they got coming back on defense, but I'm saying they make the playoffs this year, without a doubt. I think the Steelers might struggle without
you heard
Antonio.
it here.
Yeah.
He said it.
Browns will make the playoffs. They almost made it last year.
And
then, you get some of those pieces. Kareem Hunt's he's a game changer if he can play, if he's eligible to play. I don't know what the ruling was on that, or if they've even made a ruling yet, but I don't know.
It's another interesting topic we could talk about one day.
What, Kareem Hunt?
Yes. All that's happened.
Yes.
So, but anyway, we digress. We've already spent almost 15 minutes talking about something we didn't plan on talking about. Anyway, the Mount Rushmore of college football. So we have decided that I'm going to try to guess his 4. He's going to try to guess my 4. Now, there's no fancy algorithms, none of the big of those things. It's just what we think, and then we're going to provide our arguments with it. If you listen to this, throw your 4 down in the comments, see what everybody else seems to think. I think it's an interesting topic.
This
Everybody's
is just
going
picking from the heart.
Yeah. I mean,
There's some
maybe.
basis behind it, but
Yeah. All right. So, who do you? I mean, we have two in common. I think we're going to find out. So, go ahead and shoot. See who you think.
Well,
you got.
the first two that come to my mind, without a doubt, you got Nick Saban and Bear Bryant.
Okay.
I mean,
You got them.
yeah, I've got them.
I got them too.
Without a doubt.
That was
I
the
mean,
first. That was easy.
That's the first two that come to my mind.
Right.
No question. I mean, they both have won, 6 national championships?
If you've done your homework, you'll know.
Yes.
Yes, they have.
Yeah. So it just sucks that it's 2 Alabama coaches up there, but I mean, you can't deny it. Like them or hate them, they're the best that have. And if I'm ranking them on the Mount Rushmore,
I mean, I got mine ranked.
Nick Saban, yeah, and I've got mine ranked too. Nick Saban is number 1.
I can see that. Yeah,
Without a doubt, Nick Saban is number 1. He plays in a harder era.
I agree.
But Bear Bryant, I've got ranked number 3.
You got him ranked number 3.
Number 3.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you didn't base it solely on championships, I suppose, or wins.
No. There's only one determining factor of who I've got ranked number 2 over number 3, which I'll get into that. But
I'm gonna say so. I'm gonna say this is not in order. You got Bear Bryant, Nick Saban.
yes.
Oh man, General Neyland.
Yes, General Neyland.
I'm gonna tear that apart. And I don't know, Newt Rockney.
No, not Newt Rockney.
Okay, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Go ahead
No,
and guess
we'll
my
get
four.
it. But yeah, you have Nick Saban and Bear Bryant, obviously. And I feel like since this started the argument, you've got Urban Meyer on
That would
up
be
there.
correct. How did you know?
So the fourth one, I'm leaning towards it's between Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden.
Wrong.
Wrong. Okay. I'm interested.
Wrong. Same conference.
Same conference.
Well, as Joe Pa, not Bobby, but you're getting there. You're getting there.
Woody Hayes?
Maybe.
Mm.
You got Woody Hayes too?
No, I don't have Woody
Oh,
Hayes.
wow. Maybe I do too. I don't know. Let's see.
No.
All right. So obviously, we'll start out. I'll start. I put him at number 4, although it pains me to do so. But Urban Meyer. I mean, you got to figure his overall record was 187-32. He's 12-3 in bowl games. I mean, that's saying something to me. He has 3 national titles: 2006, 2008 with the Florida Gators, and 2014 with the Ohio State Buckeyes. He won the Big Ten in 2014, 2017, and 18. Both the years that he won national titles at Florida, obviously also won the conference. He has 2 Mountain West conferences in 2003 and 2004 with Utah. So, I think, a lot of schools have come on throughout the years. I don't think Utah is where they are without having him there when he was there. They shocked the world. And, I think it's hard to discredit Urban. And I'll tell you another reason, another deciding factor that I picked him for was he's in company with who we agree to be the number 1 coach in college football, Nick Saban, as he's won a national title with 2 different teams.
Right.
Nobody else has. It's him and Saban. And I think if you're in that company, that alone puts you there when you've done something that only Nick Saban has done. And so, I think that's why he's there. I think beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I mean, you're welcome to rebuttal.
When I was looking at this, I was like, let me look up Urban Meyer. Because I have this blind hatred for him because he coached at Florida. But I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? I could see him being on the Mount Rushmore. I think just like Joe Pa, he's got some stuff off the field that would keep him off of my Mount Rushmore with the whole Zach Smith thing. I think that puts a real blemish on his ability to be on Mount Rushmore. But if we're talking true coaching talent, I could see him being up there.
Oh yeah,
no problem.
I think he's easily on there. I don't think there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
But
about
for
it.
me, I think from a character standpoint, he can't be on there.
I mean, are we judging character now? Because I mean, ain't really, did you base something? That didn't go into my algorithm. That makes sense. Really
well, no,
bad,
I didn't base it completely off of character, but
So,
that's one reason why I didn't put Joe Pa up there.
yeah, I have to be honest with you. But he did get his wins reinstated.
Yeah, but still, I mean, come on, you can't put him up there.
I think with Urban, it was obviously he was the coach of the Florida Gators, and me being a Gator fan, there was never a Saturday when we played anybody that I didn't think we could win, no matter who was on the field, because we had him on the sideline, and he would come up with a way to beat you, and how different it could have been if Tebow would have went to Alabama. How different it may have been had Cam not got kicked off the team. We may have not even heard of Tebow. As much as that pains my heart to say.
You would have never heard of Tebow because Cam Newton was slated to be the starter that year.
Right, and I think that it would be a really good movie to have. You got the Christian at quarterback, which I love Tim. You got the gangbanger and Aaron Hernandez. You got the Pouncey twins. Who in the world knows what they're doing? Percy Harvin. It's just a good mixture. But he took them. He made them a team, and they did some amazing things there. Tim winning the Heisman. He was the first sophomore to win a Heisman. That was under Urban. So I think that's pretty special. Obviously, it's been done and duplicated now, but Urban and Tim were the first to do so.
And Tim Tebow was probably one of the most decorated quarterbacks in college, and he should be at least one of, I think, top 3 quarterback all time
in college.
In college.
And then
even though I feel like Cam Newton was a better college quarterback than Tim Tebow.
Well, yeah, he carried Auburn that year.
Yeah, there was I can't name anybody else on that Auburn team.
No, I can't either. But he also with Urban. When we went into that 2006 national championship game against Ohio State, Jim Tressel, and they had Troy Smith had won the Heisman. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the wide receiver's name.
Ted Ginn Jr.
He got hurt.
Because he got hurt on the opening kickoff,
yeah,
and that might have changed some things. But that's why you play the game. People get hurt.
Right. There was nobody who gave us a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
We were not favored in that game at all. And to go up against your dream school, the school you spent time at as an AD and all this in Ohio State, and we just smacked them in the mouth. I'll just be honest. I mean, it makes me happy, but I think that, that spoke a lot to what Urban could do. And with Chris Leak at quarterback, too, with that being said.
Yeah, I mean, and Urban's he's won everywhere he's coached.
Always.
And that's the true definition of a good coach. No matter where you go, you figure out a way to win. I mean, whether it was at Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State, you find ways to win, and he was always able to do that. How much of that is his people that he puts around him? Well, I feel like a head coach is only as good as their assistants that are around him because you can't control everything. But, I mean, numbers don't lie. I'd probably put him top 5 for sure. I feel like he's just off of the Mount Rushmore for me.
All right, who's your number 4?
My number 4.
Mm-hmm.
This is
just the one I don't know.
This is the one you don't know, and I don't think anybody would have guessed this. And after hearing the Urban Meyer argument, I might replace him, but I'm going with Barry Switzer.
Come on, man.
Coach of Oklahoma from 1973 to 1988. 3 national championships. 12 conference championships, 157-29 with 4 ties, college record. And he's one of only 3 coaches to win national championship and a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which this is about college, but still you got to throw that in there. He won the national championship in 1974 and 75, went back-to-back, and then won again 10 years later in 1985. And perfected the wishbone offense, which is what carried him. He never finished worse than 8-4 in 16 seasons at Oklahoma, which is pretty impressive if you spend over 10 years at a school and you never have more than 4 losses. I mean, that's pretty impressive to me. And he's also 12-5 against Tom Osborne, who was a great coach at Nebraska. 5-3 against Jimmy Johnson. 3-0 against Bobby Bowden, and he was 1-0 against Joe Paterno, Bo Schembechler, the legendary coach at Michigan, and Woody Hayes, the legendary coach at Ohio State. So he's beat the best of the best for the most part that he coached against. So, I mean, I feel like his first year at Oklahoma, he went 10-0.
Yeah, but who did they play? There was nobody in the Big 10 or Big 12 then. Nebraska wasn't in the Big 12 then, were they?
I'm not sure if they were or not. But
I mean,
still.
For the sake of argument, I'm just saying. Barry Switzer.
I'm just saying, man. He's 157-29.
I mean, that's good. But, I mean.
Three national championships and 12 conference champions. It was the Big 8.
The Big 8, okay.
It was the Big 8.
All right.
But I'm just saying.
So, Barry Switzer.
Undefeated seasons in 1973 and 1974. And he should have probably won a national championship in 73. His team was undefeated, but this is before they played a national championship game. And that had to do with AP votes and stuff like that.
Right. Well, if that's the case, you can give Joe Pa a couple more.
And he won or shared the Big 8 Conference Championship every year from 73 to 1980. 7 years.
I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Ish.
He was, he was 8-5 in bowl games, so it's kind of a knock on him. But he had 54 All-Americans. That's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah, but he did get in trouble for some insider trading, which never got proven, which doesn't have anything to do with football, but. Just saying. It's a controversial one, but I mean, numbers don't lie. If you told me I had a coach at my school for 16 years and the worst he would do is 8-4, I would take that all day long. Joe Pa had losing records.
He did.
You know, I mean, Nick Saban, I'm not sure if his first year at Alabama was a losing record, but he lost to Louisiana Monroe. I mean, that's pretty bad.
It is.
But I'm sure he had losing records at LSU, you know. It's a different time, too.
It is.
We're talking about the 70s versus, now. Time. So it's hard to compare the eras.
I mean, and so, yeah.
I told you wouldn't get that one because I surprised myself with it, too, when I was kind of researching.
When I was researching, I went over Barry Switzer, and I was like, he don't really pop out to me, per se. Well, all right, then. So
I had a tie. Honestly, for number 4.
Him and Urban?
It was honestly, starting out, it was Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, Joe Paterno, or Woody Hayes. Right. And when I looked through everybody's body of work, Barry Switzer just jumped out because he didn't really have any bad years. He
didn't.
So, I don't know. It's controversial for sure.
It's not a bad pick. Not a bad pick. All right. So, my number 3 is Woody Hayes. Coach at Ohio State. His all-time record is 238, 72, and 10. He was 6-6 in bowls, but so that's a little bit of a knock. You know how many national championships Woody won?
How many he won? I'll say 4.
5. 54, 57, 61, 68, and 70. He won the Big 10 13 times. He won 54 and 55, 57, 61, 68 to 70, and 72 to 77. He won the Big 10 as a head coach. Big Ten Coach of the Year, 73 and 75. Woody Hayes is a legend at Ohio State. And coming from that conference at that time, man, that's pretty impressive. He was a great coach, obviously. And I think his record speaks for itself. You go back, it's kind of like, Nick Saban and Bear Bryant, that's who you think about when you think of Alabama. Woody Hayes and now Urban Meyer is who you think about at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So, and Ohio State is just as big a football college as Alabama is. Mm-hmm. They're both huge. Also, Ohio State has NFL teams to compete with in the state of Ohio. in Cincinnati and Cleveland. Alabama don't. I mean, that's pro football there to them.
Yeah,
That's it. That's as high as it goes in Alabama. And what Ohio State does year in and year out is amazing. For one, I'm not an Ohio State fan, but I think Woody Hayes has to be on the Mount Rushmore of college football coaches. Obviously, he's not going to be on yours. You pick Barry Switzer. But I think Woody Hayes is a better choice than Barry, in my opinion.
I mean,
Is it your Big Ten bias that you just don't like him?
No, it don't have nothing to do with Big Ten bias. I just feel like that's the only reason why people hold him as a legend is because he played at Ohio or he coached at Ohio State.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because he coached at Ohio State.
But I feel like that's why he would get more clout over a Barry Switzer, because
Really?
Yeah.
Just because he coached there. If he'd have done this at another school, it'd been just as impressive. If he'd have done it at Michigan, right? I mean, you can't just say that because he coached at Ohio State. I mean, the man's record speaks for itself.
It does, but I feel like Barry Switzer's is better.
Why? 5 national championships. It's better than 3.
This is true.
Yeah.
But
and he had harder competition in the Big Ten than he had in the Big 8.
I don't know. That's debatable. But I'm just saying, like
he was what was his record against Joe Pa? Like 1-0. So he played him once.
Yeah, he played Joe.
He played him
once.
every year.
But see, Joe Paterno isn't as great of a coach as everybody lets on to be.
Oh, that's going to cause some controversy.
I mean, yeah.
Why? Because
no, it don't have nothing to do with Jerry
Sandusky.
It doesn't have nothing to do with Jerry Sandusky.
How can you say that?
It's because he was so long tenured there.
That's why. So you saying he won 5 games a year for 100 years? That's why he's got so many wins.
No, but he had really, really bad years. I mean, he almost fired himself. They were so bad. But he's loved because he stayed at one school, stayed loyal to one school for so long. And yes, he did have, some good years. But, I mean, when I looked at it, it was just not that impressive to me.
So,
like, he only won, 1 or 2 national championships?
So you're saying Joe Pa
in 26 years?
Joe Pa's overrated.
Joe Pa is overrated.
Oh, wow.
But to the Penn State faithful, he's the man.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously.
Because,
there's no Penn State fans.
He won more games than anybody at one point. I don't know if he still holds the record.
When he got his wins back, he did.
Okay.
Actually,
but, when you coach somewhere for 26 years, you're going to have wins. It's just like the whole Brett Favre, look how many interceptions he threw. When you play that many years and you throw the ball as much as the Packers did with Brett Favre, you're going to set the daggum record for interceptions.
So now you're saying Brett Favre's overrated.
No, Brett Favre is not overrated.
You're comparing them.
But I'm saying, when you are at some place or you do something for so long, you're going to have bad things. And I think that, not necessarily should be a knock on you, but I don't think that should hold you,
Well, the fact that he was able to stay there for 26 years is impressive.
Yeah, he did enough to keep his job for 26 years, but, people loved him. And that goes a long way with some people,
I agree. You think he's better than Bobby Bowden?
No, I think Bobby Bowden's better than Joe Pa.
Good kids.
Yeah.
They're good kids.
I like Bobby Bowden. But Bobby Bowden had bad years, too.
That's true.
Yeah.
He went through some struggles in West Virginia and at Florida State.
Yeah.
But I just can't.
But that's why I don't have them up there.
Oh, yeah. Me neither. I don't have Joe Pa
I
there.
don't feel
You might be the first person I've ever heard say that Joe Pa's overrated, though. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right. But I've never heard anybody say that.
I just feel like at some point...
We're not scared.
I just feel like at some point your likability and your longevity at a school kind of overshadows your accomplishments or, makes you...
Your lack of accomplishments.
Your lack of accomplishments, yeah. It makes you focus more on the positives than the negatives.
I can see that.
Because, like I said, when I looked through there, his resume wasn't that impressive to me.
All right. Well, who's your number 3? I got Woody Hayes. Woody Hayes is on the Mount Rushmore.
Woody Hayes, number 3.
All right.
Number 3 for me is Bear Bryant.
Bear Bryant, number 3. You put Neyland over Bryant?
I put Neyland over Bryant.
Okay, go ahead.
And you know why? Because Bear Bryant never beat General Neyland, head to head. They never.
Did
Bear
they ever
Bryant.
play?
Yes.
Each other? When?
They played 7 times, or coached against each other 7 times, and General Neyland was 5-0 and 2 ties.
Where was this when he was at Alabama or Texas A&M?
Now I don't know. Probably when he was at Kentucky,
Or Kentucky? Kentucky. Really?
but still,
All right, go ahead.
you know, head to head.
So Bear Bryant.
Bear Bryant, obviously 6 national championships, 61, 64, 65, 73, 78, 79,
Mm-hmm.
14 SEC championships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't even have to. He's 323, 85, and 17.
He is.
But he was 15 and 12 in bowl games.
Okay.
But, I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, he's a legend.
I mean, he coached at Maryland for a year. Then he's at Kentucky, like you said. Then at Texas A&M, then Alabama, 58 to 82. Obviously, this is going to be my number 2. But man, he was SEC Coach of the Year for 12 years. Won it 12 times.
I mean, he's good.
Yeah, he's good, and he's got 6 national titles,
But we were just talking about Kentucky.
14 SEC titles.
If that is when him and Neyland played each other or coached against each other, I mean, Kentucky's final AP rankings under Bryant were number 11, number 7, number 15, number 20, and number 16. So it's not like he, you know, had bad teams at Kentucky.
No, but they didn't have nothing before he got there.
Exactly.
I mean, I'd be interested to see exactly. Okay, so let me slow down. So did you base putting General Neyland, who's going to be your number 2, over the legendary Bear Bryant based on their head-to-head?
Based solely on their head-to-head?
Oh, my God. Really?
Not necessarily. It was a tie for me, and that was the tiebreaker. It wasn't based solely on that.
That was the
I
tiebreaker.
feel like Neyland has a better resume.
All right, let's go ahead and shoot your number 1. Or your number 2.
My number 2.
Our number 1's Nick Saban. But
Number
go ahead
1's
and
Nick
shoot
Saban.
Yeah.
Number 2,
Now, what years did this guy coach back in the 20s?
yes.
Yeah, okay, so there's already a. Okay, go ahead.
He was the coach from 1926 to 1934.
Mm-hmm.
Took 1935 off
Mm-hmm.
to go fight because he was actually a brigadier general.
I do remember.
And then he coached again from 36 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
Took 6 years off for World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and then coached from 1946 to 1952.
Right.
Okay.
And the teams were terrible when he was gone.
Yes, they were
No,
they were
right?
very terrible.
I'm helping you.
Yeah. Okay. He has undefeated streaks of 33 games, 28 games, 23 games, 19 games, and 14 games.
All right.
Okay. He's won 173 out of his 216 games he coached at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
9 undefeated regular seasons,
Mm-hmm.
6 undefeated seasons, including the bowl games,
Mm-hmm.
7 conference championships, and 4 national championships. But here's where it gets me. Okay. 112 of his victories came via shutout. Nobody scored a point
It's impressive.
in 112 of his games.
Mm-hmm.
And 17 straight shutouts, including a whole season of shutouts. So, yes, we can argue that all this was the 20s, 30s, 40s. I don't even know if the forward pass was legal at this point, which brings a whole new thing. Would he have been that good if the forward pass was legal? But he is, without a doubt, in the history of college football, the greatest defensive-minded coach in history. 112 shutouts. But that's also back when they ran, wishbones and, triple options, and that was the only way to play football.
True.
But, I mean, he's also the first coach to utilize sideline telephones and game film to study opponents.
That's
so,
smart.
I mean, he is
An innovator.
they are still doing the things that he brought into football.
I agree.
And I think that boosts his resume a little bit because he was an innovator,
Okay. Well, when I sat down and I did this, you got to look at it. The way I looked at it was, when people talk about this, and they talk about coaches and how great they were. That's not a name that comes up. Outside of a diehard football fan or a Tennessee football fan to say, a lot of people don't know a whole lot about the guy. So to me, that public opinion had to play into part. I don't think so, but it does in a sense, because nobody knows who he is outside of, like I say, Tennessee faithful,
Right.
and all that. And then you compared, just obviously his record compared to Joe Pa's is nowhere near compatible. But he was there for a really long time, so obviously he's going to rack up some wins. But like you're saying, he went undefeated for all those years. But you got to look at who was in the conference in those years too. I don't necessarily know who I was in there, but and another thing, he never had to play in an SEC championship game. He never had that game. Never played. That was only like 92 or something when that started.
I'm not sure what year.
91, 92, something like that. So he never had that to deal with.
Right, but his track record, if he would have won them.
You don't know that.
Oh no, come on.
You really don't know that.
I mean, you can make
He probably played everybody in the conference.
You can make a great assumption that he would. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that every team that he played was great. I mean, he played like Cumberland College a couple of times. You know.
Yeah.
But that's no different than Nick Saban playing, Kent State every year.
True.
So, I mean, cupcakes are going to be there no matter what era it is. Mm-hmm. But there's not as many great teams back then as they are now. It is definitely harder to win in this era, and that's why Nick Saban is number one for me, because it's so much tougher. Just like with, say, NASCAR, I feel like Jimmy Johnson is a better driver than Richard Petty.
I agree.
Because they've made it to where it's more even now.
Right. It is more even now.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my point. I couldn't put a coach that coached in the leather football helmet days on Mount Rushmore when he coached back then. I just couldn't do it.
I mean, I understand that. And that's a big knock on him, is because he did coach so far back. But I mean, you can't deny it.
There's a big statue of him over there.
I mean, the last squad in NCAA history to go a whole season without getting a point scored on them was in 1939, and it was General Neyland's team. That's a record that'll never be broken.
I don't think he goes over Bear Bryant though. I can't do that.
Well,
you got his record against Bear?
Yeah.
What was it?
5 wins, 0 losses, and 2 ties.
5 wins, 0 losses, and 2 ties. Probably while he was at Kentucky.
But like I said, his Kentucky teams were good.
They were, of course,
And Bear Bryant has said that the toughest coach that he ever had to coach against was Robert Neyland.
Okay.
So, I mean, even from his mouth,
yeah,
pretty much saying he was a better coach than me.
He wasn't a better coach than Bear Bryant.
No, it's debatable.
It's because you're a Tennessee fan.
Maybe not, but I mean, the facts are there.
The facts are there, but all right. I mean, if you're going to put him second, you might as well put him 1.
No, I can't put him 1.
Why? Because he coached back in the day?
I mean, yeah, that's part of it. But I just feel like, Nick Saban's won more national championships, where it is it's harder to win now. But this is the same debate as, is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan? They're two different eras.
That's nowhere near the same. Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time.
Okay. Saying Wilt Chamberlain.
Probably going to make it. Whatever.
That's another discussion.
Yeah.
Because, people are going to go with whoever they were raised watching.
True that.
Just because, there's a guy at work that made that point to me. He loves LeBron. He thinks LeBron's better than Jordan, because that's who he grew up watching. All he sees is replays of Jordan. He doesn't know what kind of effect Jordan had.
Yeah, we can't even see replays of Neyland. They didn't have TV back then.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think they got some.
Maybe
they got some footage, but I'm just saying.
I mean, you didn't put Dabo in? I mean, I didn't. Why didn't why Dabo's got to be considered? Because we all know Nick Saban's our number 1. So honorable mentions. Would you put Dabo Is he close? If he wins another national title, is he?
I would put Dabo in the honorable mentions at the moment because, once again, it's hard to win in the NCAA right now, and he took over.
It's more competitive now.
It is. It's very competitive. I mean, anybody can lose.
That's why Saban has to be number one.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
things he's done with the competition that he's had.
Yeah,
it has to be that way, I think.
and I mean, you can't knock him for his NFL career either because it's a totally different animal coaching NFL versus college. I mean, you're dealing with grown men versus kids that will hang on your every word.
Right.
And some people just can't motivate grown-ups versus kids that look up to you. So I don't think that you can't knock Nick Saban for having a bad NFL record, and I mean you can knock him for kind of lying that he wasn't going to leave Miami and go to Alabama and then turn around and actually do it. But yeah, I would put Dabo in the honorable mention.
I think Bobby Bowden's honorable mention.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Somebody was telling me about. How about Pete Carroll? USC. Is that an honorable mention?
Yeah.
Man, he has some good teams, right?
He had really good teams. And they're shrouded in controversy.
And he did win a Super Bowl.
And he's one of the 3 coaches that have won a national championship in a Super Bowl.
So I think you can make an argument for Pete Carroll.
You can make an argument for Pete Carroll without a doubt. But I don't think he was at USC long enough to kind of get a glimpse of the overall coach he was.
Right.
And I don't know what the team looked like when because I didn't really research Pete Carroll. I mean, I saw his name pop up when I was kind of looking around, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. But I mean,
it's worth talking about.
Really, he only had those 2 really good teams.
They were really good.
The Reggie Bush and the Matt Leinart years were super good.
Then he ran into Mac Brown and Vince Young.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was not good.
That was a really good national championship
It
game.
was.
But I mean,
if we're gonna make a Mount Rushmore, you have yours, I have mine. With the coaches that we have, obviously Nick Saban we have in common as number 1 easily. If you need the stats, here we'll just give them the stats real quick of Nick. That's pretty impressive actually.
6 national championships.
Yeah, 2003, 2009, 2011, and 12 back to back. 2015 and 17. He's won the SEC 8 times. 2001, 2003, 2009, 2012, 2014 to 16, and then 18. He won the MAC once in 1990, and he's won the Western Division of the SEC, which is the toughest division in the SEC.
And from 2012 to 2018, that's a good run of winning the West.
Oh man, yeah, and he's 232, 63, and 1 right now, and that's only going to climb. I think he could. If his health holds up and he keeps doing it and things keep going the way they go, I think he could pass Joe Pa and Bobby for wins. He's 14-10 in bowls though. That could be a knock. And the conference in the college football playoff, which we all know, he's 6-3. Obviously, one of those championships coming at Louisiana State University. So, my question to you is: if we're gonna make a Mount Rushmore, obviously there's only one, so we're gonna have this. This doesn't have to be per se in order, but we both agree that Nick Saban's number 1. We both have Bear Bryant on the Mount Rushmore, so for sake of argument, we'll put him number 2. I would be willing to let you put Neyland up there.
If he's number 4?
No, I ain't saying that. We're not ranking him. I'm not saying we're ranking. I'd be willing to let you put Neyland up there if we kick Barry Switzer off and put on Woody Hayes. I think Woody Hayes would be there before Urban.
Really? I feel like Urban's got a better resume than Woody Hayes does. Woody Hayes is iconic.
His tenure's not
just
long.
because he's went there.
So you want Urban on instead of Woody?
I would put Urban before Woody. I feel like.
Then I think Urban could be replaced. I'm afraid eventually by Dabo.
Yeah, he could.
The way it's going.
Yeah, the way it's going.
They've lost nothing. I mean, they lost the defensive line.
They lost the defensive line the year before that. I mean, they're killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the recruiting for next year, and they've already got like the number 1 quarterback, number 1 running back, number 1 defensive end. Like they are just absolute. Right now it's a 3-horse race. You've got Georgia, Alabama, and Clemson. in
I
my
agree.
opinion.
I agree.
I mean, you can sprinkle in some Oklahoma and some Ohio State here and there, but when it comes to getting the top athletes, there's nobody doing it like those three schools.
And another good thing that you could use for Urban never lost to Michigan.
No.
Never lost. And that's huge. I just
Yeah.
like saying Nick Saban's in Alabama, if y'all were as good as you used to be, has never lost to Tennessee.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I don't think he ever lost to Tennessee, did he?
No. Who, Saban?
Yeah, no. Well, Saban definitely hasn't
No,
lost.
Saban hasn't.
And Urban hasn't.
No, because that was part of that. It wasn't until we had
I think the last
McElwain
Yeah,
that we lost. That was Butch Jones next to last year.
yeah.
Yeah, when we finally lost. Broke the 12-year streak, maybe
11-year, I think.
11-year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last time y'all beat us,
Ron Zook,
Ron
maybe.
Zook. Yeah, it was Ron Zook.
Yeah.
I remember being there for that one. Field goal at the end.
Yeah. God.
So
But one interesting note on Nick Saban: his second year at Alabama, he had him undefeated after going 7-6 his first year and that loss to Louisiana Monroe. So he went 7-6, and then the next year went undefeated.
and if Shula could have got what he wanted when he was down there, because that's who he took over for. If Shula could have recruited who he wanted, Saban would have had Tebow and Percy Harvin.
You're talking about Mike Shula
Yes.
at Alabama, yes.
And Brandon Spikes, and possibly the Penalty Twins at the time, because they all went together to Florida
Yeah.
for Urban. But they were heavily recruited by Alabama and Shula at the time, so that would have been interesting. We've talked for years too about with Saban how awesome it would be. His defense they're stellar. You're talking about Neely being the greatest defensive mind ever. Good case. I mean, you already get a good point. Saban's right there. His defenses are just phenomenal. And, we've talked for years about what it would be like if he actually had a top-tier quarterback. Nothing against Greg McElroy and those guys. They were good. They managed games. They did what they had to do. But now he has that.
They relied on that running game
Right.
a lot.
Now he has that. He has Tua.
Mm-hmm.
And he just couldn't get it done last year.
Well, you know what? Sometimes
Couldn't get it done.
skill overpowers physicality.
Yeah. Clemson's rough,
And
of course.
Yeah, I mean, and so there's this battle going on between Clemson and Alabama. That's like the rivalry right now. But Clemson took offense that Alabama said that Georgia was more physical.
Mm-hmm.
So that made Clemson mad. But you got to think, I feel like Georgia is more physical. I don't think that was a stab at Clemson. I think Georgia is a more physical team. But Clemson is a more well-rounded team. They're, I feel like, a better coached team. And they don't have to be physical. They can get you with finesse and with skill more so than just lining up and overpowering you.
Mm-hmm.
They're more scheme-oriented than, like Alabama's just line up on the ball, let's hit it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Georgia.
Yeah. And I think Nick Saban, excuse me, and Dabo have made two of the biggest calls in college football in a while. Obviously with Nick Saban coming in after halftime, starting a freshman quarterback in Tua. Look what happened. And then everybody thought Dabo was crazy when Trevor Lawrence came in and they benched Kelly Bryant. Everybody's like, man, I can't believe this. Obviously, he knew what he was doing. He took a freshman, and he didn't just manage a game. Trevor Lawrence, I think he's the real deal. Obviously, he's the Heisman front runner this year, and should be. I think it'll be a trouble between him
and there was a lot of people mad.
Herbert in Oregon, but still.
There were a lot of people mad because Kelly Bryant lost his job. They said he didn't do anything to lose his job, which is true.
But he didn't do anything.
But Jalen Hurts didn't do anything to lose his job. He was 26-2 as a starter, but
didn't do what he needed to do to keep it.
Yeah, I mean,
with the way it's going now with college, it's what have you done for me lately? Not what are you going to do for me right now? It's not what have you done for. I'll get a 7-minute. What are you going to do for me now? Not what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
And the pressure's so high on coaches now to perform that sometimes those choices have to be made.
Same thing with Justin Fields. He came in as the number one quarterback at Georgia.
Yep.
And I don't know what he was promised. I don't know how they recruited him. I don't know if they said, hey, we're going to have some packages for you. your freshman year, get you acclimated, whatnot. But as a number one rated quarterback, when you go to a school, you're going to expect to compete for a starting job most of the time. You feel like you're that good.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And see, Jake Fromm,
Yeah.
Obviously we don't know because we haven't seen Justin Fields yet.
Right.
But, he could turn out to be a better quarterback than Jake Fromm. And if he is, then why would you sit behind a quarterback that you're better than?
True.
Because Jake Fromm hasn't done anything to lose his job in the eyes of Kirby Smart. He might not pull that trigger like Dabo and like
Well, I think
Saban
the defense
has.
lost the SEC. The Georgia's defense lost the SEC championship for him.
No, Kirby lost that.
Well, yeah, I agree, but I
that
think
fake punt call.
True. Other than, and now we're just shooting off the cuff here, but other than say Trevor Lawrence or Tua, who's two quarterbacks you're looking at this year in college that you think is going to be surprisingly well?
Two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what Sam Ehlinger does at Texas.
Good point.
He'd had a good year last year. He's got a lot to build on. Justin Herbert is a good option.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Oregon's always sneakily had really good quarterbacks over the years.
Mariota was great.
Mariota was great. Dennis Dixon was good for what they did. Him and Jonathan Stewart. Who was the one before Mariota? That might have been Dennis Dixon, actually. But they've always had these sneaky good quarterbacks, and they've always been really fast at every position.
Always. LeGarrette Blount's like one of the biggest running backs they've ever had.
Yeah.
Then he punched old buddy out, remember?
Yeah, I was watching that live when they played Boise State.
Yeah.
My Lord.
I tell you another one to watch out for, and nobody's talking about him, and that's Jacob Eason at Washington.
Oh yeah, no, I said I didn't know if there was going to be that much drop off of what everybody's like. Oh, they lost. They lost their quarterback,
They're
but
flying under the radar, man. And Jacob Eason is a beast.
and their coach is. I love their coach.
Had he not got hurt, he may have not lost his job.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be one to watch this year. I think Washington's going to be.
They're going to sneak. Yeah. They're going to sneak. Like you said, nobody's talking about them. So, but Jacob Eason was a top-tier quarterback recruit, and he played really well.
Well,
it was his freshman year he played, wasn't it?
Wasn't it like three years in a row? Georgia got the number one recruit coming out of college as quarterback until it was Trevor Lawrence. They got Jacob Eason, Fromm, and then Fields.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Jacob Eason's going to be good this year.
You know what? I had actually talked.
Peterson's a great coach.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Chris Peterson's awesome. I wanted him at Tennessee.
Yeah,
for sure. Because if you can turn Boise State into a good program,
Yeah, and I don't care what anybody says. There wasn't nobody around here a Boise State fan for years. Now there's a bunch, but.
And I'll never forget they finally gave them a chance to play in a big time bowl, and it was against Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember to this day, everybody shows the Statue of Liberty play.
That's it.
But the hook and ladder play that they did to even get in the position to go for two.
I was going to bring it up. Yeah.
Nobody even shows that. That was the more remarkable play.
The Statue of
it was
Liberty.
like fourth down and like 20-something yards. Everything's like you said, the Statue of Liberty play and the running back going. Yeah, exactly. But
without the hook and ladder, it don't happen.
No, that was an even more impressive play. I remember I got goosebumps right now talking about that. That was, and to this day, maybe minus a couple of the last couple of national championship games, that was the best bowl game I'd ever seen. And
outside of national championship,
witnessed with my own eyes and watching it. I didn't catch it on highlights. We literally were watching it. And
we haven't missed a national championship game though in what years?
Oh, it's been a long time. I remember the Ohio State Miami national championship.
Yeah, I do too.
But anyway. We've been watching them for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny because I had forgot about Jacob Eason, even though I had mentioned him to some people at work not long ago. You put me on the spot and it didn't even come to my mind. That's definitely a good one. I like Jacob Eason, and like I said, because that was my thing. I was like, I don't know if they're going to have that much drop off.
I remember when Jacob Eason started. You said Georgia had the first transgender quarterback to ever start.
He does kind of, yeah. He kind of looks a little, a little funny.
That. Yeah. But that brings us to our next topic we're going to talk about. Ranking the conferences, talking about some of these high-end teams and things that's happening. It's kind of easy, I guess, in a sense, to say that maybe Clemson benefits from being in a weak conference.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, no, that's not taking away saying that they're a bad team. Obviously,
no.
They blew Alabama out in the national championship game, but I don't think they get tested throughout the year as much as some of these other teams in other conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a big benefit for them, without a doubt. They probably don't play as many physical teams as the other teams in the other conferences do, and that, helps them out from an injury standpoint. They get to blow teams out, and so they get to develop that talent on the third and the second and third string, so that there's not that much drop off to the next year, because they've played in a lot of games, because they're still playing against the starters of the other team most of the time, so they're playing their number ones, but and I think that's why they're able to develop that much talent, is because they get to blow these ACC teams out of the water, and they've got their second, third strings in at halftime.
So, are we saying that the ACC is the weakest conference?
ACC is the weakest conference for me if I rank them, without a doubt.
They have Clemson, and then after Clemson, I think it just kind of. I mean, Pitt's year in, year out, they're decent, but they're nothing to brag about. North Carolina, obviously, got Mac Brown back, the defensive coordinator from Army. I think they might build on something. They're recruiting really good right now at Carolina. Duke just lost their starting quarterback to the draft, but they're really still there.
Here's the thing you ask yourself. How much of a drop-off is it from the top team in that conference to the second team?
That's a long ways.
And you have to look at that in every conference.
I don't even know who I would put second in ACC.
That's what I'm saying. But the talent and just how good the team is from Clemson to whoever you would put number two is a huge gap.
I think it really hurt the ACC when Jimbo left Florida State.
Yeah.
It hurt them bad.
Because that was probably would have been number two.
Yeah, not now.
Not now, but with Jimbo there, it would have been number two.
Now Miami has Manny Diaz. Is he
but
going
we
to be?
Still don't know.
Virginia Tech, decent. Bud Foster's leaving after
Bud
this
Foster,
season.
yeah, so that's going to hurt.
Virginia, it's hard to say with Virginia Tech. They're
up and down every year.
Syracuse has.
I like Dino Babbers, their coach, but I mean he plays Clemson hard every year. But,
they do.
I mean,
really.
Yeah, I mean you can't put them number two.
Wake Forest, no.
Carolina maybe.
NC State.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's just nobody that just jumps off the page at
Georgia Tech
other than Clemson.
I think Georgia Tech will be doing good to win 3 games this year.
Yeah,
Gary Johnson's gone.
Yeah, new coach.
Obviously, he's not running the option.
Yeah, so he doesn't.
He's not going to have the athletes.
He doesn't have the players that.
And who else is in the ACC?
Louisville.
Man, they were good there for a while. They had a good stretch with Teddy Bridgewater and then Lamar Jackson. Satterfield is up there now from App, and he did some amazing things at App State. That's not to say that took them to a BCS team. Well, not BCS team now, but a team that's eligible for the college football playoffs. But I think it's going to take him some time to build up there.
Yeah.
Bobby Petrino's gone. They got Louisville, like I said, Pitt. Notre Dame don't play in the conference, so you can't really.
Yeah, you can't. You can't
if
add them in.
If they were a conference team, I guess that would
be the number two.
But you can't use that.
No, because they don't have to play in the conference.
Game.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, for me,
ACC's
the weakest, because when you look at it as a whole, that's the conference that has the biggest drop off between the number one team and the number two team for me.
I agree with you on that.
It's Clemson and nobody else.
Clemson and everybody else.
No, nobody else.
Well, yeah,
I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, there's nobody there. Number 3, who would you have?
After the ACC, I'd say the next weakest would be the Pac-12.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's Because, I mean, really all you got's Oregon and Washington. Utah, maybe.
man, Mike Leach at Washington State is no joke.
But this is for this year, this coming year, right? Ranking them for this coming year?
For the upcoming year, what we think they're. But yes, I was basing it on what I think it'll look like at the end of the year. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Pac-12.
Because Washington State just lost probably one of the best quarterback that's ever been there with Minshew.
True.
So, I mean.
Mike Leach still ain't something to sleep on.
No. Mike Leach is he's a certified crazy man, but
I think Colorado helped them out a couple of years ago when they just really overachieved.
Yeah.
But I don't think
you can't base it off of that.
I think if Chip Kelly can continue what he's doing, he might have UCLA ready in a couple of years. I don't think it's this year.
No.
I think they still get beat up. Cal, I think Oregon, Utah, Washington, which everybody's kind of sleeping on, like we've talked about. Let's see who else we got. Washington, we already named. USC, he's on the hot seat, I think. I don't know. They're always overrated, in my opinion, every single year.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, they're not.
And see, that's something that you can also use to gauge the conferences, too, is if you hand pick a team out of one conference and say you do a conference realignment and you put them in another conference, how well would they do? Pac-12 goes over ACC because you take Oregon or Utah, or they're going to run through most of the ACC.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
So, I mean, that just lends another thing of why the ACC is the weakest because
Can't forget about the Beavers. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
They don't do nothing.
But, I mean, even our next highest one, our next highest rated conference would run through the ACC minus Clemson.
Yes.
I agree. I think if Washington went into the ACC and say Clemson was out of the picture, Washington will win the ACC, no problem.
Yeah, easily.
So, I mean, that right there just proves that ACC is the weakest. But I feel like Pac-12 is the next weakest just because there's a lot of question marks there this year. There's a lot of good players that left. Because, I mean, like you said, Eason's a good quarterback, but you don't know what they're going to have at Washington. He might not fit in that system like he did at Georgia.
May not.
So
Kirby Smart, he did take over a good team, but he's offensive genius. So we got the ACC to Pac-12. Next,
I feel like it would be the Big 12.
Big 12.
Big 12.
All right.
Because you got Oklahoma and you got Texas. And that's about it. It's always been those two teams, though, because that conference has been.
I think it got better, though, when they added West Virginia and some of them teams. But West Virginia is just.
They've got a lot of question mark. I misspoke last week and said Dana Holgorsen, but Dana Holgorsen is not their coach anymore. He's at Houston. They've got Neil Brown, who came from Troy, which did a good job at Troy. Troy always plays people tough.
They do.
So, I mean, is he going to get better recruits at West Virginia than Troy? I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like he could, continue the West Virginia tradition of being a really hard team to beat. But once again, I feel like you take the top teams in the Big 12 and you put them in the Pac-12, they run through the Pac-12, and they definitely run through the ACC.
Easy.
So,
yeah.
I
think Texas is the best team in the Big 12.
Yeah, and you can actually Oklahoma State would probably run through the ACC.
Mike Leach, can't forget about Oklahoma State. Yeah. Texas Tech, no.
No, not anymore.
I tell you somebody that hasn't really been doing anything here lately is Gary Patterson at TCU.
I know. He's kind of fell off a little bit, and I don't know why. Maybe he got that extension, and he was like, "All right, I'm just going to kind of
rest on my laurels."
Yeah, just maybe be all right. But there for a while, man, they were one of the toughest teams. And I don't know if he just had a couple of really good recruiting classes that build on what he already had, and he just had these teams that were really good for 2 or 3 years, and he hasn't been able to recruit like that since, and it's kind of fell off a little bit. But you never can count them out.
I don't think that it's kind of hard, I guess, which I understand your formula and it makes perfect sense. But when I look at it, I don't think the Pac-12, they're obviously, we'll say Oregon, probably going to be the best team in the Pac-12, I think. And they would run through the ACC minus Clemson. However, I don't think the Pac-12's put anybody. They will not put anybody in the college football playoffs this year. I don't think.
No, but the ACC wouldn't if it wasn't for Clemson.
If it wasn't for Clemson, I
Right.
think we'll see where the Pac-12 stands opening week with Auburn and Oregon.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that'll be the telltale sign. If Oregon can get past Auburn, and then if they can take care of business against Washington, they might get in.
They could get into.
We'll see.
I
don't think they will, though.
I think it takes an undefeated. It definitely takes an undefeated Pac-12 team to even try to consider.
There's not
the
a
playoffs.
one-loss Pac-12 team.
Not a one-loss Pac-12
A one-loss Clemson could get in,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
but a one-loss Pac-12 is not happening.
And the only reason why you can put a one-loss Clemson team in is because of their track record.
Yep. But we're on the Big 12. But I think Texas has a shot at the playoffs if Sam Maryland and then they can keep producing the way they have. I mean, they handle business against Georgia. Now, was that a letdown from the conference championship? We've talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Possibly.
but I think
But Oklahoma can be just as good, just like we said in the last one. It just depends on Jalen Hurts.
that's a big if.
But, I mean, at least that conference has two hopefuls.
I agree. They do.
And it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But, yeah, I definitely feel like the Big 12, as far as a conference ranking, would be better than the Pac-12.
I agree.
Just for me. Big 10.
Big 10. I
Yeah.
agree.
I mean, you've got Ohio State,
Mhm.
you've got Michigan, you've got Penn State,
Yep.
you've got Nebraska,
I think they're a sleeper.
which they could. Yeah, I love Scott Frost, and they've been getting some good recruits. Now he's going to have to rely on some of these freshmen probably,
Mhm.
and hopefully they'll pan out for him. But I feel like there's more teams to choose from in the Big Ten that are better than the teams in the other conference.
I agree.
I mean, Jim Harbaugh.
Coaching for his life this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, but then again, there's a lot of unknowns there. You don't know how Ryan Day is going to take over as head coach. You don't know how Franklin's going to do at Penn State. He's lost his two best players over the past 2 years.
Losing Quan Barkley hurt them terribly.
Oh yeah, and
Obviously
then like I
it
said,
would.
they don't have McSorley anymore.
Right.
So, I mean,
I think James Franklin will be okay, though.
Yeah.
Another couple of years. I mean, he did great at Vanderbilt.
I haven't kept up with their recruits or anything like that, but I don't know if he's been able to reload like he wanted to. But I mean, I just feel like there's more teams to talk about in the Big Ten that have a legitimate shot.
I think one of the mid-tier Big
Don't
Ten.
forget about Northwestern.
They're always good, but I think one of the mid-tier teams in the Big Ten could run roughshod over the Pac-12 and
Oh, yeah.
and easily the ACC.
And it's a really
Take
it's a
Iowa.
physical. Yeah, it's a physical league.
You
It
know,
really is.
Iowa, they might be slower than everybody else, but they're gonna at the line of scrimmage, they're just gonna beat you to death.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the Pac-12, where they're not usually as meaty, as
Yeah,
big. They don't
yeah.
have the size. They got the speed, but they don't have the size as other schools like the Big 12s and the Big 10s and all those do.
I mean, really, the only. I mean, of course, they've got bad teams too. I mean, Illinois,
Oh yeah,
but
every team, yeah, every conference.
every conference is going to have bad teams.
I
I mean, the only reason why SEC has Vanderbilt is, to boost our academic.
Vanderbilt's not the worst team in the conference.
Not anymore.
No.
They used to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, you
So
look at-
number one's SEC, yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, their track record, and they haven't fell off since that string of 7 national championships in a row got broken when Jameis Winston beat Auburn.
Oregon. Jimbo Fisher and Florida State won a national championship against Oregon in the playoff, did it not? Or did they beat? I don't know.
They beat Oregon to get to the.
Okay.
I can't remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but I mean they did win 7 in a row.
They did.
SEC dominance, and then that's where the SEC biases come from.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not unwarranted. You
Not
win
at all.
7 in a row. I mean, you can get mad that they went to the national championship every year, but nobody was beating them.
No.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe they didn't deserve to be in there, but they proved it when they got in there. Same reason why I said Clemson shouldn't have been in the playoffs when they lost to Pittsburgh, an unranked Pittsburgh team. That should have been enough to knock them out of the playoffs, to me.
Mm-hmm.
But They went in there and they proved.
handle business.
Yeah, they won. They won when it counted.
I think you could take the third team in the West right now and put them in any of them conferences, and they come out either winning or second place easy.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Texas A&M, I think.
Texas
obviously,
A&M, yeah,
I think they can handle business in the Big Ten, the Big 12, the Pac-12, and easily the ACC,
yeah,
beyond the shadow of a doubt.
yeah,
Then you got Georgia, LSU, Bama. We took one of the darlings of the Big Ten last year. Florida did, and just
spanked them.
yeah, real nice. I liked it.
It's one of those things where it's like I said, from the top team to the second team, how much of a drop off is there?
It's not a lot.
With the SEC, I mean, right now you can almost interchange Alabama and Georgia. To me,
I agree.
almost. Georgia's just a little bit off, but you can almost flip flop them, and there not being any drop off.
Yeah.
And that says a lot, considering how good Alabama is.
Oh yeah.
And for Georgia to be nipping at their heels in the same conference. What hurts the SEC, I know people hear it all the time, is we just beat each other up
We do,
really badly.
and it's true.
And that's why Clemson benefits from being in the ACC, is because they don't have to play. Alabama's got to play LSU every year. They've got to play Texas A&M every year. And before Hugh Freeze got fired, they had to play Ole Miss and usually lost to them. Hugh Freeze was a giant slayer when he was at Ole Miss.
Lane Sharp defense.
Yeah, also a hooker slayer, but that's another story. But in the East, it's really Georgia and Florida, and then everybody else right now.
Right now.
But
I think it's changing though.
But still, I mean, you take Florida, you put them in some of them other conferences, I think they do really well and hang in the top 3 of all the conferences without a doubt.
Yeah, then people will argue, well, Clemson beats South Carolina every year, but come on, man.
But that didn't happen till after Steve Spurrier left.
Yeah,
Steve Spurrier was a Clemson killer.
he was.
I mean, I can't remember how many in a row he beat them, but I mean, some of those, I think maybe Tommy Bowden coached. I'm not 100% sure.
At Clemson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dabo definitely lost to South Carolina a few times with Steve Spurrier being there. And I don't know. I feel like if you but you can take Clemson and put them in all of those other conferences, and obviously they could run the table with any of them possibly.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you put Clemson in the SEC, there's more of a potential for them to fall off, just for the simple fact that you can beat an SEC team the one time you play them that year, but can you run the entire season without being tested
Right.
or actually losing a game?
In some of those environments.
Yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, yeah, sure, they beat 3 SEC teams last year.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Texas A&M, and they beat South Carolina, and they beat Alabama. But they were spread out over the course of the year.
Right.
Like, how well would you do having to play Alabama and then go to Texas A&M and then play LSU? I mean, it's hard to say, and it sucks because you can't do that. I think it would be cool if they could somehow figure out a way to kind of take top teams and kind of flip-flop them through the different conferences and just see how well they do.
True.
And I think that would be really cool. And maybe we're going to start seeing some more of the, teams scheduling harder schools, and we can get a true gauge of how good they are. I mean, anybody can beat anybody you play in one game for the most part.
You think the college football playoff goes to 6 teams?
I think so. Eventually, I would like to see 8 teams, where you do your 5 conference champions.
Oh, the 5 we just named.
Yeah, the Power 5 schools.
Okay.
So your ACC champion, Big 12 champion, Big 10,
Pac-12.
Pac-12,
SEC.
and the SEC. And that's, your 5 teams. And then you get
Regardless
3.
of record.
Regardless of your record, you win that game, you're in.
Okay.
and then you gives you the chance to put 3 more teams in who might have been say
Sorry about that.
like say Alabama does lose the national, like they're ranked number 1 and they lose the national, or they lose the SEC championship game to Georgia. Well, you put Georgia in because they won, but then you get 3 spots to possibly put Alabama in. You know, you get 3 at large.
Mm-hmm.
Also gives you opportunity to put somebody like UCF in.
Right.
And I just think that gives you a better, I don't know. But then again, you know, it could possibly backfire where, say, Northwestern pulls an upset against Ohio State. Now you got Northwestern in the playoffs, and they probably don't belong there.
Well, I mean, if they win their conference championship,
But if they win,
criteria.
yeah. So I think it would kind of be very interesting
It would be very interesting.
to do it like that. And I feel like you would get all the teams in that, you know, you feel like would be able to win, and just let them play it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I like that idea. I've talked about that with people I work with all the time, you know, how they need to expand it out to at least 8 teams. And that'll get at least 1 team out of every conference in there. So
Yes.
it's being all-inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I feel like 3 at large is plenty enough to get.
And now we got the rebirth of the Big East.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously UConn, they're a basketball powerhouse. They're not a football powerhouse, but you got the Big East coming around. I mean, back in the day, you have Virginia Tech, Miami, Big East. With some football right there.
Yeah.
But you got them coming around. You know, you got the smaller conferences. They could have got the Sun Belt.
Yeah. I mean, let's get crazy. Put App State in there. See how that.
Hey, why not?
No, that'd be.
Slaughter.
Yeah. I mean, they beat Michigan one time, and everybody thinks that they can beat anybody in the nation
Yeah, it
at
didn't
any
happen
time.
the last time they played them.
No, I mean, I guess it's something to hang your hat on, you know. It's definitely cool. I remember
It is.
I didn't get to watch the game because it was App State, Michigan. It wasn't on TV, but they kept cutting in. It's like, you won't believe what's happening up at the big house.
Yeah, and then everybody's Appalachian. No,
Yeah,
it's Appalachian.
It's Appalachian. Anybody listening, it's Appalachian. But, yeah. Which, most of the time, Appalachian State fans get on my nerves because they're like, oh, we won 3 national championships in a row. And it's like, yeah, and some bad football.
And they take you to overtime.
They did take us to overtime. Whatever. But I'm just saying, yeah, you were 3-time national champions, but, you know, you wasn't playing anybody.
Right. Who's Tennessee upset this year, you think? I think I'm picking Florida over Georgia. That's our upset game. We got to beat them.
Florida over Georgia.
Yeah, it's going to be my upset. I don't know that it'll happen, but I think it's possible. I think
see,
Alabama can get it done.
Outside of Florida, Georgia, and the 3 big teams we play, we don't really play anybody that if we won it would be considered an upset.
You don't think beating Auburn last year was an upset?
That was, but I'm saying we don't have nobody on the schedule
Okay.
like Auburn this year. I mean, our other West team's Mississippi State. If we beat Mississippi State, that's not really an upset.
Not now.
And we don't have a non-conference game that we play like, you know, Oklahoma like we play next year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we went up there and beat Oklahoma, that would be an upset. But there's no non-conference game this year where it would be considered an upset. We got BYU, Chattanooga.
That's not going to be an easy game.
No, it won't be an
That
easy
BYU
game. No, it'll be tough. But if we win it, everybody's expecting us to win it, so
Right.
it's not necessarily an upset. And everybody else in the East, I mean,
You going to beat Vandy this year?
hopefully. But I mean, if we did, it wouldn't be considered an upset.
Yeah.
So
Kentucky.
I
beat
don't.
them last year.
If we have a chance to beat somebody that would be considered an upset, I would say out of the 3, we would have a better chance of beating Florida than we would Georgia or Alabama.
Damn. I ain't going to have it.
Not saying that it would happen, but I would say that would be our best chance
I got what you're saying.
to do an upset. Even though we played Georgia better last year than we did Florida, but I mean we shot ourselves in the foot. But I think if we did pull an upset, it would be that one.
Right.
Even though it's at the Swamp, but I don't know.
Be the first one we've missed in years.
Yeah.
This year, but that's about it for this podcast. Now, the other thing we was going to talk about, and then it's at the end here because nobody will probably care, but it's the golf competition between Keith and I. I'm up 4-3. Lost the other day. I was using new clubs. Got a new set of clubs. Was using them
Excuses.
and took advantage of me. But I will prevail. And what it is we play from January 1 to December 31 whenever we get a chance. We keep track of it. And at the end of the year, somebody's getting to take the trophy home for a year.
Yep.
And anybody's welcome to come play with us. Just hit us up and let us know when we go. You can come along.
You can come laugh at us.
Just don't be out there. If you're good, don't be expecting to play with anybody that's good, because we definitely are not.
Yeah. I don't know what my handicap would be, but it would be.
I don't even know how to
It would
figure
probably
it out.
be a number that you've never heard of before.
I don't even know how to figure out a handicap.
I don't either.
So we'll just play.
I don't know if my phone calculator could even calculate that, to be
Right.
honest with you.
If I don't lose 2 balls, I'm doing good.
I have to use a graphing calculator to figure my handicap out. But, yeah, we both played pretty well last time. I was just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be tied up.
You blew the big lead at Linville.
Yeah. Big lead. Three strokes with 3 holes left, and I blew it. Actually, it was 3 strokes with 2 holes left.
Mm-hmm.
And meltdown mode.
It was nice.
And it was actually started after Kevin was going to concede victory, and I said, no, I'm going to screw it up. And, of course, I jinxed myself. I should have just let him concede it. And
So lesson here is, kids, never give up. 'Cause you might come back and win.
you might,
So
especially if you're playing against me.
that's true. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Oh, yeah.